What's up, guys? Pyrostasis here. Merry Christmas to everybody. It is officially Christmas Eve, December 24th, 2011. And in this video right here, I just kind of wanted to go over a few basics on Star Wars to help you guys get a little bit more EXP that might be struggling and new to the game, and etc. etc. The best way to get EXP, at least in my opinion, at least once a day, is to do all of the dailies. Now, there's a PvP daily that you can do. There is a Flashpoint daily you can do, and then there are the spaceship dailies that you can do. And if you do all of the above, you're going to end up with, I don't know, probably about 3/4 of a level to a full level, just depending on how everything goes. I know the PvP quest, at least at level 20, nets me about 12k experience, and then actually the battleground itself usually nets you anywhere from 10 to 15k, and then usually most of the ship battles and the quests net you anywhere from about 10 to 15k as well. Now, the key thing about these spaceship dailies is you need to get your ship upgraded. Now, the upgrades, if you haven't found out where to get those at, you're going to want to go and look at my other video where I show where you can get that. Basically, any of the planets, any of the stations, the Imperial Fleet, I'm sure the Republic has similar spots. And just turn on merchants and look for ship upgrade merchants in your map. It's a little, kind of looks like a 7 with a $sign, which is interesting. I guess that's the credit symbol for the game. So. But once your ship's upgraded, and you will have to upgrade it about every 10 levels or so, you're going to find the space missions get, I wouldn't say downright easy, but significantly easier. And as you level, they do get harder, obviously, but the ship upgrades pretty much keep everything in line. The Warzone daily is fairly easy to do, depending on your side. Now, I've had days where it's taken me, I don't know, 10 to 15 wars. Wow, that really sucked for him. Slammed right into that asteroid. I've had queues where it's taken me 10 or 15 war zones sometimes to win, and if the enemy side is doing real well, and you're playing with a bunch of people who can barely dress themselves in the morning. So if you can get your guild mates, like we try to run with TDK the war fronts as a group most days. So obviously it's Christmas Eve, so I had to run them myself this morning. But they're not too terribly hard to win. I mean, it goes back and forth. Of course, I am on the Evil Empire side, and we always win our war fronts. But the ship upgrades for these ship missions, they drastically increase the DPS of your ship, the damage that your ship can take. You'll notice in the bottom right, I have started off with 36 missiles, as opposed to I think it's 6 or 7 with the default ship. So, and once you get further on, I know my buddy Mooner, he's, I think he's in the 40s because he didn't re-roll like I did. And he has like 120 missiles now when he does these spaceship missions. So, it gets pretty ridiculous. And they do apparently add, thank God, more spaceship missions. That was one thing I was really, really worried about with the game, was that the spaceship missions were just basically going to be the same missions the whole way through and just get harder and harder. But he did confirm yesterday for me that they do actually get some new missions, which is really good, because, the space combat is fun, but, it is on a rail. And about the 5th or 6th time you do some of these, it's like, really? Seriously? I mean, I know there's more ships now, and they're elite, and, they take 4 missiles instead of just 1, but it's still the same damn ship battle, so that's at least good. But with, when you knock out all these dailies, and I really don't do the Flashpoint dailies, because Flashpoints, at the moment, the low-level ones drive me insane, because there's just, they're basically tank and spank, and finding a group takes forever unless you're, running with the guild. And they take forever. I mean, they're like an hour long. So, and that's when you're burning through it. If you have a death or something, then it's going to take even longer. And I don't know. there's nothing wrong with them, but you know, for me, I'd rather just do a quick war zone and then, you know, kill a few people, blow up some spaceships, and then be on my way. But if you do the PvP daily and the ship dailies, you're going to end up with, I would say, damn near a level, if not more than a level. You know, as you see right there, 11,000, and I even get a nice little upgrade for my ship, kicking me up to the grade 2 stuff. Make sure when you're buying your upgrades for your ships that you watch the levels. I screwed up last time on my main and bought a full set of class 2 gear, not realizing that class 2 goes pretty much from level 20 to level 30. So, you know, spent a shit ton of money that I could use to buy my speeder and on gear that I can't even use. Now these dailies, for the spaceship dailies, you are going to find that they have 2 or sometimes 3 spaceship quests per mission, and you're going to get the EXP reward for the actual mission itself, and then once you complete the quest, you get the big shot of EXP for that. So that helps out a lot. Now, a couple guys asked me yesterday what I thought about Star Wars and what I recommended. And that's kind of a loaded question. You know, I mean, if you ask me, you know, would I recommend Skyrim, you know, is that a good game? I'd say hands down yes. I mean, I love Skyrim. That's definitely worth buying. But when you come down to an MMO, the answer is a lot more complicated. I'm relatively old school when it comes with MMOs. So, you know, I grew up on Ultima Online, Asheron's Call, EverQuest, and that like. So my standards of, you know, what I would actually recommend as opposed to, you know, most people is probably going to be a little bit different. And now that's not necessary. I guess you could say I'm an MMO snob, because what I enjoy and what I look forward to are a little bit different than, you know, the current group of people that are playing MMOs, and, you know, where maybe World of Warcraft was their first MMO, or Rift maybe was their first MMO. So, you know, I lean more towards the sandbox games like Ultima Online, EVE Online, and those types of things, where the content is more generated by players. So when I say sandbox, I'm talking about, you know, the developers give you the ability to create your own content. Like in EVE Online, you don't necessarily go and do raids in EVE Online. EVE Online's end game is more about interacting with the other players. Like, we own a star system, you own a star system, and, you know, spending a 6-month campaign trying to slowly eradicate that other guild and take, you know, their points over a little bit at a time. You could think of it as a extremely strategic, intensive battleground that lasts maybe 6 months or more and kind of goes back and forth. Those are the type of games that I can hands down recommend. However, that doesn't mean that Star Wars isn't a great game. I do enjoy it for what it is, but it is a theme park game. Now, when I say theme park games, for those of you who aren't necessarily familiar with the terminology, theme park games are like WoW, like Rift. Basically, the developers make, and you know, it's kind of a crude example, but they make rides, and the players ride those rides. So you have instances, you have battlegrounds, you know, you have bosses to kill, you need gear to do whatever, so you have to grind the gear, and once you get to the end of the rides, you know, you've done all the content, then you have to wait till they release another ride, or you can ride the same ride over and over again. That is a theme park. So Star Wars, as far as theme park games go, is a very good theme park game. I did not think that the storyline was really going to work for me. I mean, I thought the idea of a storyline in an MMO was an absolutely crazy idea. I mean, if you look at World of Warcraft or Rift, I mean, most people spend about 14 seconds reading their quest information just so that they can, you know, find the quickest way to get to the mob they need to kill so they can kill it and get on with it. Nobody is reading well, I can't say nobody, but the majority are not in-depth delving into the lore and, you know, so-and-so hates so-and-so, and oh my god, you know, we're going to kill this guy. No, it's, well, you know, what rats do I need to kill? What boars do I need to kill? Where do I need to go? Etc., etc. Well, Star Wars kind of changes all that, because literally everything in the game is a voiceover. Every quest is a cutscene. So, on one hand, you know, whether you want to or not, you're going to get sucked into the storyline. You're going to have to, I mean, you could bypass every single screen if you wanted to, And there are people that do that, and there actually is the option in the options screen to by default bypass all cutscenes. But I think you would miss out on the majority of the hook of the game if you were to do that. If you can watch the cutscenes, the storyline is rather good. It does have a tendency to pull you in. You do get a little bit more interested in what's going on, and the playthroughs actually have a little bit more replayability. Now, granted, the non-class quest storylines are still there, so you're still going to have to do the same quests that you did on all of your classes before, but the class storylines are going to be drastically different. So, and not only that, but the light and dark side of each class is going to be drastically different. So if you were a good Imperial agent last time and now you're playing an evil bounty hunter, the gameplay experience and storylines are going to be completely different. The bosses that you encounter, and I guess boss isn't the right word, the key NPCs that you encounter are going to be completely different. So, that does add a lot to it that I really didn't think was going to work. I remember when Star Wars first announced that they were going to be doing a story-driven MMO, and I just kind of laughed. I was like, well, I don't expect that to last. So, I was pleasantly surprised. I think they did a really good job with the quest lines and the voiceover. I mean, there's thousands of man-hours that had to have gone into this, and, I'm interested to see how the expansion is going to go out, because, other MMOs before have done storyline, but they've, and voiceovers, but they've never done 100% voiceovers. And once you've actually experienced 100% voiceover work, you go back and look at some of the other theme park games, it's like, wow, I didn't really realize how much of a change that was until, I went back to the other system, and, it really does have an impact. So I think that's going to change the way most of the MMOs are made in the future, because, it really is a successful model, and I think as far as theme park games go, it's going to be good. So, that being said, getting down to whether or not I would recommend Star Wars to friends. Most of my friends are going to play it, but I would look at it from the standpoint of whether or not you're hardcore or more or less whether you're casual. If you're the type of person that burns through content incredibly fast and you don't really care about a storyline so much, then Star Wars probably isn't going to be for you. There doesn't seem, from what I can tell, to be a whole ton of content. If you're playing, like a typical high school kid or college student where you're putting, 30 plus hours into the game a week, then you're probably going to burn through the content relatively quickly. So you got to ask yourself, is the initial purchase price worth it for me? And considering most people spend $60 on a game for console or for their PC and really only spend about 20 to 30 hours on average with it, Star Wars is going to give you that. The storyline, like I said, alone is worth a playthrough. It is an enjoyable storyline. They do a great job with it. Now, for those of you who are a little bit more casual and who are going to be taking your time with it, actually care about the storyline, it's a really stupendous game. But at the same time, if you hate World of Warcraft, if you hate Rift, if you just despise theme park games, then you're going to hate this one the same. I know I'm probably going to take a little bit of flack from it, but there isn't really anything groundbreaking in this game that wasn't in Rift and wasn't in WoW. So if you've played WoW and you've played Rift, this is the same game, just with lightsabers and full cutscenes. So, again, not that that's a bad thing. I am playing it and I am enjoying it, and my guild will probably be here for a couple months while we chew through all the content. We're gonna do the raids. We're gonna see what the game has to offer, and maybe BioWare will surprise me, and they'll keep up with the content, and stuff will come out at a fast enough pace that people aren't gonna get bored, and it won't turn into another gear grind, a rep grind, etc., etc. But I have a strong feeling that it is going to turn that out. The PvP, though, I do like the PvP a lot more than I've liked WoW's PvP. There is a little bit more kind of a thought processes that go into it. With WoW, it's pretty much, you roll these 3 classes in certain arenas and setups, and you win. If you don't, you lose. The gear grind, though, is basically identical. Good gear versus bad gear, just like in WoW, you're going to get steamrolled until you get the gear. Now, right now that's not a problem because everybody doesn't have the gear. But later on, you know, I have a feeling that it's going to be very similar to the WoW setup where people that are well geared and high level are going to, you know, steamroll those that don't. That does bring up another interesting point. Unlike WoW and Rift, the battlegrounds are not segregated. So, where is Seraphim Assault? So, in WoW, if you're a level 10 and you queue up, you know, you're in the 10 to 20 or 10 to 19 bracket. Well, in Star Wars Galaxies, if you queue up and you're a level 10, you are in the same bracket as the level 40s, level 50s, level 30s, etc. And they do scale you, so that does help. So you're going to hit as hard as somebody else does, but gear still takes into effect. So somebody in full purples versus somebody in full whites, both of, you know, one's level 50, one's level 10, you know, there's going to be a drastic difference there. That being said, you know, in a group situation, or as long as there's a, you know, an equal mix, then, you know, both sides still have a chance, and at least the level 10 is doing damage, so he gets the feeling like he is contributing. So that does help. However, your abilities also don't scale, and by that I mean you don't end up with, whoa, how was I supposed to dodge that? You don't get any more abilities, so you know you have what you have. So I know at least for my class, which is the sniper, we get quite a few abilities that really drastically increase our DPS. You know, some things that make some of our sniping shots instantaneous, etc. You know, without those abilities, my DPS is still functional, but obviously, you know, anything that's going to double your DPS is going to make you a much more powerful individual and a much more powerful player. So the fact that all of the battlegrounds are together, I don't know, I do not like that. I'm hoping that they will change that later on. I think that's a real weakness and a real mistake. But, you know, we'll see how it works out long term. Hopefully that's something that gets patched in later. But, you know, then again, just because I find it an issue doesn't necessarily mean it's, you know, a problem for everybody else. But, you know, with the drawbacks aside, you know, there are a lot of positives to the game. It is fun. The storyline is rich. The gameplay is fun. The classes are fairly unique. You know, I didn't really like the first class that I picked. The healing aspect on the mercenary. The mercenary class itself is amazing for a DPSer. But I gotta say that the sniper is absolutely outstanding. I love that class. You know, it's a kind of a glass cannon-ish type setup. You know, if somebody closes range with you, you have a couple abilities to get them off. But if you can't close that or extend that range relatively rapidly early on, then you're pretty much going to get farmed. And you know, I think that's kind of how it should be with a sniping class. You know, you're not meant to be point blank and whatnot. So I really do like the sniping class. You know, you can sit on, if you can get into a good position, you can pretty much destroy the enemy team. You know, you can get up on a ramp and people aren't paying attention to you, you're going to decimate. Same time, you know, if you're one of those smart people that wants to just stand out in the middle of the fight and snipe from, you know, open field, you're going to get steamrolled. So those who have positional awareness and are smart enough to actually take advantage of the class to its fullest are going to do a lot better than. And I think that will be the difference between whether or not the class becomes overpowered or not. So, but anyways, to answer the guy's question, yes, you know, if you don't mind only spending a month or two with the game, you know, with the content that's currently in now, I think SWTOR is definitely worth it. I'm hoping that they will add more to the game so that it will be more worth playing for a longer period of time. For the hardcores, I would probably recommend passing. For the casuals, it's definitely worth a pickup. So, definitely take a look. Hopefully they'll have a trial soon, you know, and those of you who are a little bit on the fence can take a look and see, you know, what it has to offer. I'll be making quite a few videos, most likely PvP videos this weekend, because, you know, they're just a little bit more fun to watch than the PvE is. So, you know, stay tuned for that, and, you know, you can see see what I'm doing when I'm playing the game, and that'll kind of give you a feel for what to expect. You know, I've done a lot of space combat, but space combat is really just a mini game off of the main game. So this video is basically focused completely around space combat because I can ramble on, and it doesn't take a whole lot of thought processes to win this. Whereas questing, I do have to actually pay attention enough to to make sure I get the objectives. So, hope you guys liked this video. If you did, please click that like button. Subscribe so you don't miss out on any of my other videos, tips, tricks, and guides. Hope you guys all have a Merry Christmas, and I'll catch you guys in another clip.